welcome to the Bobcast. Today I have with us Ed Simulkaitis, our guru in the office on all things 1099. So Ed, let's just start with a very basic question. What is a Form 1099?
At the most simplest level, a Form 1099 is an informational return filed with the Internal Revenue Service.
So who's responsible for filing these Form 1099s?
Well, if you are an entity, that could be a corporation, a partnership, a sole proprietor, if you own rental properties, if you're a trust, even an estate, if you pay income totaling over $600 to an individual or an entity in the course of the year, you have to report that to the Internal Revenue Service.
The $600 paid more that's primarily for what do we typically see?
There's two main forms that you are going to be dealing with outside of brokerage and things along that line. So 1099 NEC, which stands for non-employee compensation, and 1099 INT, which stands for interest. So if you are paying an entity or an individual over $600 that is not your employee, they're going to receive a 1099 NEC. And again, if you are paying interest, you're going to receive a 1099 interest.
Because somebody financed you, so you're having to pay interest on that loan.
Correct.
And the other form that we see a lot of is 1099 miscellaneous, right?
1099 miscellaneous is one of the other ones. That will be pretty much for rent. That's the big one there. So if you are paying rent to an entity, if that entity is not incorporated, you are paying somebody that is incorporated. So whether it's an S Corp or a C Corp, they don't need a 1099. If they are not incorporated, they absolutely do need a 1099.
How do you know whether they're incorporated or not?
The easiest way is to get a W-9 form from your vendor. And that is the best practice. So before you pay them anything, make sure you have a W-9 form filled out. They will be required to put the type of entity they are, their social security number if they're an individual, their EIN number if it is a non-individual entity, and that tells you everything you need right there.
I know there's always a lot of confusions and we get a lot of questions about what if the company has LLC in its name.
LLCs, limited liability corporations, can be taxed a number of different ways. So if they are electing to be taxed as a corporation, then they don't need a 1099.
But they would mark that on the W-9.
That is marked on the W-9.
Now, if they mark the box on the W-9, disregarded entity, what has to go on the W-9?
So that is one that tricks people up. So if they are a disregarded entity, they're going to be taxed as a sole proprietor. So we need their social security number, not their EIN.
Not the business EIN.
Correct.
When are 1099s supposed to be issued to the recipients?
They need to be issued by the end of January. You know, that is a kind of a tight schedule. Super important to get the information in as soon as possible so the returns can get prepared, processed, and out the door in a timely fashion.
Well, what happens if you don't file a 1099 ad?
There are some pretty stiff penalties. First, you have a late filing fee of $310 per return. If you don't file at all and you completely disregard it, there is an intentional disregard penalty. That's $630 per return.
Per return, so that means per 1089 that's not filed, correct?
That is correct. So it'll add up pretty quickly. 10 that you should have issued that you didn't, times 630. As you can see, it's a pretty steep penalty.
That is very steep. Plus probably interest on top of that. It could get very costly very quickly.
Very costly very quickly.
Here's the question that I know we get a lot. Well, how do they know if I have to do a 1099 or not? Where's the disclosure for that at?
You as a business owner are required to know. But more importantly, on your tax return, there is actual boxes that need to be checked. Were you required to issue a 1099? And did you issue them?
When you're completing those tax returns, you're filing the tax returns under penalties of perjury. So therefore, are you being truthful on the tax return you're filing? Said you issued payments that would require 1099 and you say no, in theory, you're not correctly stating what happened. We have created some options for people to sort of help guide through this process, right?
This year, we have some web-based tools which are interactive. First, questionnaire, which will answer a couple questions, guide you through whether you do need to issue a 1099 or not. Second one will kind of help you with gathering the information that's needed from your vendors, in addition to the W-9 form, which we do have a link to, so you can download that. But it's very interactive, very user-friendly, and it should make the whole process pretty straightforward and painless.
Wonderful. Everyone, we wanted to update you on the 1099 reporting requirements. Ed, thank you for joining me on the Bobcast today. And if you have any questions, please check out our website. There will be a link at the bottom of this video for the Q&A web-based tool that we have to determine if you need to issue a 1099. Now, one thing I want to tell all of you is that CLH LLC is taxed as a partnership. Accordingly, payments to CLH would require a 1099 if you are an enterprise that are required to issue 1099s for those services. Until the next time, have a great day.